Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, in which I talk about whatever I want, even if the thing I want to talk about keeps getting pushed back. Yeah, I was going to talk about the new Netflix show Inside Job, but for whatever reason, I decided to circle back around and rewatch The Great North, considering I'd only really watched 1.5 episodes before, and I discovered the first season's completely done and the second season has started. So that's pretty exciting. But really, I feel like the internet's kind of sleeping on this because it's very Bob Burgers esque. I mean, it's got like some of the same people in the lead for Bob's Burgers. Um, in with it, Lauren Bouchard, I believe, being the main person I can think of. So no surprise there. The animation style is also similar, and it's got this just heartwarming family at the center of everything, which is exactly what draws me to Bob's Burgers more than the comedy or anything. Just the fact that it's a family who they may fight and stuff, but they're still at the end of the day, they have each other's backs. And the Great North has a very similar feeling towards it. I just found out by rereading through the Wikipedia and trying to double check some of the actors that I thought I recognized their voices, they're already renewed for a third season. Admittedly, their seasons are a lot shorter than Bob's Burgers, but that doesn't matter too much to me. I'm almost done with the first season now. There's 11 episodes. I'm on episode 10, but I just had to stop and talk about it because it's heartwarming. Let me go through the story. So, The Great North is an animated sitcom, and it is about a family who live in Alaska. They are a fishing family, and specifically, they live in this fictional town called Lone Moose. They have some crazy, bizarre festivals and stuff, but the father is Beef Tobin, and he lives with his four children, who, in descending order of age ish, is Wolf, Ham, Judy, and Moon. Wolf being the oldest son, he has a fiance from Fresno, and her name is Honeybee. She actually met Wolf on a movie quote site and bonded over Shrek and other movies, and she decided to move up to be with her boyfriend, now fiance. Wolf is a very sensitive guy. He adores his father and does everything he can to both make his father proud and to keep his father safe from some of his um, neuroses. But he's a very sweet guy, and I can see why Honeybee loves him a lot because he tries so hard. He's so sensitive. Um, Honeybee is fantastic. She is African American, and she kind of brings an extra amount of life to the family. She's very confident. She ropes her fiance into funny little side business ventures like supporting him when he wants to take people on their fishing trolley out to see sunsets or roadkill, what are they called? Koozies, roadkill koozies to try and keep drinks cold in hot tubs, stuff like that, and nettle squeaking. Hopefully that's not heard too much. Hopefully that's not heard too much. Ham is either the next oldest or the third oldest. It's not really confirmed. He is basically the same age as Judy because they are quote unquote Alaskan twins, which is a play on Irish twins. They are born 9 months apart. He is gay, very openly so. And there's an episode I want to talk about that kind of features him being gay a bit more, but he's fun. He's also pretty sensitive. He has a whole sort of routine with Judy because they're very close, being almost the same age. They are very fond of each other, have all these little antics that Honeybee comments on because she's still getting used to the family. She thinks it's adorable. And um Ham also loves to bake, and he's a really good baker. The second episode actually shows off his baking skills as he takes over as the cake lady, which is a position in Lone Moose where basically people give you their orders. It used to be done through tacking your order on a tree, but is now through email because he's updated it. And the cake lady will also present a cake for a festival that is like a celebration of no longer eating the dead. It's Alaska. It's rather intense. Um, Judy is kind of similar to Tina. She is more artistic, but she's not obsessed with butts. I said artistic, not autistic, because it's very easy to headcanon Tina from Bob's Burgers as autistic, but Judy is just a creative soul. She is visually distinct from her siblings and her family as they're all redheads except for her and Moon. And Moon wears a little bear onesie the entire time, so that barely even matters. She is very interested in boys, going out. She wants to see the world. She has an imaginary best friend she talks to in the sky, who is some sort of actress that is actually voiced by the actress, which just warms my dumb little heart because my favorite character that's ever played themselves has to be Margot Martindale from BoJack Horseman. She is a delight. Um, and Judy's just very fond of her family and loves them all to death, and the entire family loves each other. Finally is Moon. He's 10 years old. He lives in a bear onesie most of the time. He is about as wildlife competent as his father, which is puts him at complete odds against his other two brothers, who is the sensitive and ever aspiring wolf and the I would rather bake a cake ham. Um, Moon is a little sardonic, a little sarcastic. He's very similar to Louise in many ways. It's very easy to make comparisons to the others. Though I do admit it's not just Bob's Burgers got put into Alaska. It's they're their own family, but there are certain tropes that you can see kind of got passed along. And Moon also is just a sweet kid. He also cares about his family. He's not as outwardly hateful towards his family as Louise seems to be. Let's see. So you'll notice that there's no mom in the picture, and that's the subject of the first episode. The mom, Kathleen, Beef, used to pretend for years that she had died in a bear attack, but she'd actually ran off to be with her lover in Pennsylvania, and I'm just sitting here like, of course they moved to Pittsburgh. I've not been to Pittsburgh, but everyone knows Philadelphia is better than Pittsburgh, right? And the first episode just kind of deals with the fact that Judy's turned 16. Wolf would like to move into the backyard with his fiance instead of living in the house. And there's changes going on, but the family's still going to be together. And Beef having to deal with all these changes and admitting that, yes, his wife left him, and maybe it's time to admit that to himself. It's a very sweet episode. And then, but my favorite one has to be about the fact there's two. The first one is that I really like is Moon dealing with the idea that he maybe can't believe in Bigfoot anymore. And there's a little song that Beef sings because, again, similarities to Bob's Burgers, there's plenty of little musical numbers, and each episode ends with a little song bite that is just great and ties into the overall story in some way. But Moon has to deal with the fact that a lot of kids don't believe in Bigfoot or Sasquatch anymore. And he's like, okay, I got to give up these childhood dreams. And Beef is like, oh God, I remember that all these things used to be my friends as a kid, and then they kind of disappeared when I started becoming a grown up. And Moon is too young to have to be dealing with this yet. So he and his family get together and they manage to reignite the spark. In addition to reigniting the spark in other children, because it's done at school, so they won't make fun of Moon anymore for believing in Bigfoot. And it's very sweet because, like, in today's day and age, everyone's trying to force everyone else to grow up, to see the big picture, put away these childish daydreams and stuff. I mean, you get it a lot when you're an adult that likes to consume cartoons. And not like adult cartoons, but just cartoons in general or anime. It's like, oh, you're still a child, what the fuck? But I mean, if you're still functioning in the world, why not have some of these childish things? It's no different than believing in God, in my opinion. Um, but hands down, I think my favorite episode so far, in a complete subversion of my expectations, has to be the one where Judy finally asks her crush, who also works at the mall with her. He's a little bit older. They're in the same grade, apparently. And he works at a smoothie shop. And you get introduced to him in the beginning. And there's this dance that's happening that's basically the girls get to ask the boys. And with the regular Alaskan twist, the boys who don't get asked are made to stay outside in the snow for an hour, because this is based off a tradition of a long time ago. In the first school, there was a school teacher and he had a crush on this woman, and the father said no when he asked to marry her. So he was like, okay, what can I do to win her favor? And the father was like, go out in the woods, live for a month, and then I will help you build two cabins, because their love couldn't be contained to one, is the quote. So this guy goes out into the woods to show that he's really a tough guy and he can provide for this man's daughter, and he immediately dies. So the boys that don't get invited to the dance have to stand outside in the snow for an hour, then they can come in. And through this story, it's very obvious to anyone who is not Judy that the boy that she has a crush on is really into her brother Ham. And she's just being awkward, and I'm sitting here like, this is going to be the worst. This is going to be like the liar revealed trope. I hate this. And also, clearly, what those people in the past, because, like, after the man died, the daughter moved in with her best friend, and they just, like, lived happily ever after. It's very obviously historical revisionism. And any gay person worth their salt knows that a lot of these, and they were friends, actually meant they were lovers, but history doesn't want to admit that they were gay, so they were friends. And God, they were roommates. So that's all the vibes. And of course it comes out where they're at the dance, she goes to the bathroom, she comes back out, Ham and the boy are dancing and giving a little smooch, she's upset, runs out. And then this is where it surprised me, because we have this very imaginative girl, so she talks to an imaginary actress in the sky, and she's crying outside of this poster of the school teacher guy that died in the past. And he starts talking to her and is like, dude, that's not what any of this is about. This is all fucked up. Why are you ruining this on my day? And she's like, well, I mean, you lost your love, and now I've lost my love. So I wanted a love story like yours. And he's like, no, the woman I was in love with, she liked to smooch other women. And Judy's like, oh, so she was a lesbian. And he's like, yes, and I was a lesbian too. And she's like, no, 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 boys are just called gay. And he's like, nope, it's too late, we're lesbians now. Which really amused me. So it turned out my feelings about the fact that this was the historical revisionism ended up being right, because in reality, the school teacher was gay, and the woman that he was going to marry was also gay, and what they were going to do was live in two separate houses, and she'd be with her friend, and he'd be with his manly lumberjacks and whatever, and they'd live happily ever after. And he is sad because he died not being able to be true to himself. Hello, Nettle. She's come over to say hello. So all of that happened, and it's like, oh, so that's actually really sad. And it ends the way you'd expect, where she runs out, she's like, nope, we're doing this over, this isn't historically accurate anyway, let's get this shit right. And she lets Ham be with the boy, and then we don't see them again, because just like with Bob's Burgers, there's a very strong reset to neutral, or start reset to whatever the status quo. Reset to the status quo. That's what it's called. Jesus Christ. For someone who watches a lot of pop media reviews, I know nothing. Um, but no, I just it's a really good show. I really like it. The animation is good. It's not one of those um, animations that will make you laugh with every other word, but then again, Bob's Burgers itself doesn't make me laugh. I watch Bob's Burgers because I find the stories to be interesting and the family aspect to be extremely important to the overarching story. And I think that's the same reason I like The Great North. I do think they have an extremely noticeable lack of any indigenous presence, and I'd like to think that a TV show that is so willing to point out stuff like the historical revisionism of homosexuality in the past and make small commentaries asides on like oil refineries polluting the air and creating beautiful sunsets and that sort of thing, and the pretty obvious lack of toxic masculinity within the main family. I really like to think that they're going to build up to that, but I haven't seen it yet. Admittedly, there are still 2 episodes for me to watch in the first season, and one, two, three, four, five. 5 episodes for me to watch in the second season. So hopefully something comes up sooner than later. But I guess we will see. And I'd really suggest anyone who is giving this a listen give that show a watch because it's worth it, in my opinion. And I would love to hear you guys talk about it. But that's it from me today. If you are liking this so far, I'm just going to say go ahead and give a subscribe because I post one of my little journal vlogs every day and I talk about anything from art to history to fish to pop culture to a lot of atheism stuff. And I'd love to discuss this stuff with you. So I hope y'all have a great day. Stay hydrated. I'm going to get some water myself and dislodge my dog from my bladder. I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.